They laughed when the old janitor said he was a war hero. They filmed him for TikTok. They called him a liar. But when the senator walked into that school gymnasium, everything changed. What happened next left 900 students in tears, deleting their videos and begging for forgiveness. This is the true story of the man they never saw coming.
Tommy Walsh pushed the yellow mop bucket down the hallway of Lincoln High School, and the wheels squeaked so loud that kids turned around to stare. He kept his eyes on the floor, always on the floor. The smell of bleach and old cafeteria pizza mixed together in the air, and his back hurt like it always did around 2 in the afternoon. "Yo, there goes Captain America," someone shouted from behind him. Laughter exploded like fireworks. Tommy's hand squeezed the mop handle tighter, but he did not look up. He never looked up anymore. 3 boys stood by the lockers, phones out, pointing at him. The tall one with the blonde hair was named Cody. He wore a varsity jacket even though it was 70 degrees outside. Cody held up his phone and started recording. "Hey, Mr. Walsh, tell us again about how you fought 100 terrorists with your bare hands," Cody said, and his friends laughed so hard one of them snorted. Tommy stopped walking. His jaw moved like he wanted to say something, but nothing came out. His right hand started shaking just a little bit, and he shoved it into his pocket fast. "Man, he's not even going to say anything. This is boring," another kid said, already swiping to another app. Tommy started pushing the bucket again. The squeaking got louder. Behind him, he heard Cody say, "My dad says guys like that make up stories for attention, probably never even left the country." The mop bucket hit a bump, and dirty water splashed onto Tommy's boots, the same boots he had worn for 12 years, the same boots that had walked through sand and blood and places he could not forget no matter how many pills the VA doctor gave him. In the cafeteria, Ms. Rodriguez was wiping down tables. She taught English and always smelled like vanilla perfume. When Tommy walked in, she looked up and smiled, but it was the kind of smile people give to stray dogs. "Tommy, can you get the spill by the vending machines? Some kid dropped a whole tray," she said. "Yes, ma'am," Tommy said quietly. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. He mopped up the mess while students walked past him like he was invisible. A group of girls sat at a nearby table, their faces glued to their phones. One of them looked up and whispered something, and they all giggled. Tommy saw them glance at his shirt. He wore the same gray janitor uniform every day, but on the sleeve was a small patch, an American flag. Next to it, another patch that said, "Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army." "Is that even real?" one girl said, not whispering at all now. "Girl, you can buy those at the Army surplus store for like $5. My cousin has one and he works at Target," another one answered. Tommy's hand shook again. He gripped the mop so hard his knuckles turned white. The water in the bucket was brown now, dirty like everything else. At 3:15, the final bell rang and students poured out of the building like ants escaping from a flood. Tommy waited in the janitor's closet until the noise faded away. The closet was small, with one light bulb hanging from the ceiling and shelves full of cleaning supplies. It smelled like chemicals and old concrete. Tommy sat on an overturned bucket and pulled out his lunch, a sandwich from home, peanut butter and jelly. The bread was a little soggy. He ate slowly, chewing each bite 30 times like the therapist told him to do. "It helps with the anxiety," she had said. But Tommy still felt his heart beating too fast, still felt the tightness in his chest that never really went away. On the shelf next to him was a photograph in a cheap plastic frame. 5 men in desert camouflage, standing in front of a tan building with mountains in the background. They were smiling, young. One of them was Tommy, but he looked different. His shoulders were straight, his eyes were bright. Next to him stood a younger man with red hair and freckles, Lieutenant David Morrison. Tommy stared at the photo and took another bite of his sandwich. His hands were not shaking anymore. The next morning, Principal Chen's voice came over the intercom during homeroom. Tommy was fixing a broken lock at locker 214 when the announcement started.
Good morning, Lincoln High. I have exciting news. This Friday, on Veterans Day, we will have a very special guest. Senator David Morrison will be visiting our school to honor our veterans and speak to students about service and sacrifice. Tommy dropped the screwdriver. It hit the floor with a loud clang that echoed down the empty hallway. His face went pale, like all the blood had drained out of him at once. He bent down to pick up the screwdriver, but his hand was shaking so bad he could barely grab it. Senator Morrison. The name repeated in his head like a drum. Senator David Morrison. Coming here. To this school. Tommy stood up fast, too fast, and his vision went blurry for a second. He leaned against the lockers and closed his eyes. His breathing got quick and shallow. In his mind, he saw sand, fire, heard screaming, felt the weight of a body on his shoulders. He pulled out his phone with trembling fingers and called the school office. "Lincoln High, this is Pam speaking," the secretary said in her cheerful voice. "This is Tommy Walsh. I need to take Friday off. I'm sick." "Oh, Tommy, are you okay? Do you need to go home now?" "No, just Friday. I'll be sick Friday." There was a pause on the other end. "Well, okay, hun. Feel better." Tommy hung up and slid down the lockers until he was sitting on the floor. Students would be coming to class in 5 minutes, but right now the hallway was empty and quiet. He put his head in his hands. That afternoon, Tommy was cleaning the gym when Cody and his friends walked in. They were not supposed to be there. Practice did not start for another hour. "Yo, Mr. Walsh, you hear about the senator coming?" Tommy kept sweeping. "I heard. They're going to have a whole ceremony and everything. My mom says we have to dress nice. It's going to be so boring." He took a shot at the basket and missed. The ball bounced toward Tommy. Tommy stopped it with his foot, but did not pick it up. "Hey, were you actually in the military, or is that just for show?" Cody asked. He was not trying to be mean this time. He sounded actually curious. Tommy looked at him for a long moment. The kid was 17, maybe 18. The same age Tommy had been when he enlisted. Long time ago. "Did you see any action?" Tommy's jaw tightened. "I need to finish cleaning." "Come on, just tell us one story, a real one." Cody pushed. "No," Tommy said, and his voice was harder now, cold. The boys looked at each other and laughed. "See? Told ya. Fake," one of them muttered. Tommy watched them leave, then went back to sweeping. But his hands were shaking again, worse than before. That night, Tommy sat in his small apartment on the edge of town. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, bare walls except for the same photograph from the janitor's closet, only bigger. He heated up a frozen dinner in the microwave and ate it at the kitchen table while watching the news. The anchor was talking about some politician. Tommy was not really listening. His phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick it up. "This is Thomas Walsh?" A woman's voice asked. Speaking. "Mr. Walsh, this is Jennifer Park from Senator Morrison's office. The senator wanted me to reach out personally. He'll be at Lincoln High on Friday, and he specifically requested to see you. He said you two served together." Tommy's throat dried. "I can't make it. I'll be sick that day." "Mr. Walsh, the senator was very clear. He said it's important. He said he owes you." Tommy closed his eyes. 14 years. 14 years since Afghanistan. 14 years since that day. Tell him I said no thank you. Tommy hung up and sat at the table for a long time after that, staring at the photograph on the wall, at the faces of men who never made it home, at the young version of himself, who still believed he could save everyone. Friday was coming, whether he wanted it to or not.
If this story is touching your heart, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It helps us share more incredible true stories about the heroes living quietly among us. Your support means everything. Now, let's see what happens next.
Friday morning came, with gray clouds and cold wind. Tommy called in sick like he planned, but at 6 a.m, his phone rang again. It was Principal Chen. "Tommy, I know you said you're not feeling well, but we really need you here today. The senator's security team needs access to the basement and the storage areas. You're the only one with all the keys," Principal Chen said. He sounded stressed. Tommy sat on the edge of his bed in his undershirts and old sweatpants. His hands were already shaking, and the day had barely started. "I can drop the keys off," Tommy said. "Tommy, please. The event starts at 10. Just come in for a few hours. You can leave right after if you want." Tommy closed his eyes and pressed his thumb and finger against his eyelids until he saw colors. "Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate it." Tommy hung up and sat there for 5 more minutes, staring at the floor. Then he got dressed in his gray uniform, the one with the patches on the sleeve, and drove to the school in his old Ford truck that made rattling noises. When he got there at 7:30, the parking lot was already filling up. News vans with satellite dishes, black SUVs with government plates. Men in dark suits wearing earpieces walked around the building, talking into their wrists like in the movies. Tommy parked in his usual spot at the far end of the lot and walked to the side entrance. His heart was beating so hard he could hear it in his ears. Inside, the school was chaos. Teachers were putting up decorations in the gym, red, white, and blue balloons, a big banner that said, "Thank you, veterans." Principal Chen was speed-walking down the hallway with a clipboard, barking orders at everyone. "Tommy, thank God, security needs to sweep the basement. Can you take them down there?" Principal Chen said, without stopping. 2 men in suits approached Tommy. They were both tall, with serious faces and blank expressions. "Sir, we need to check all entry and exit points in the lower level," one of them said. "Follow me," Tommy said quietly. He led them down the stairs to the basement where the old boiler room and storage areas were. The men checked every corner, every closet, speaking into their radios in code words Tommy did not understand. He stood by the wall and waited, his hands in his pockets to hide the shaking. When they finished, Tommy went back upstairs and tried to stay in the janitor's closet. He could hear the sounds of students arriving, lockers slamming, the usual morning noise. But today it was louder, excited. Everyone was talking about the senator. At 9:45, Miss Rodriguez knocked on the closet door. "Tommy, they're about to start. Don't you want to come watch? It's for veterans," she said sweetly. "I'm okay here." "Come on, it might be nice. When's the last time someone thanked you for your service?" Tommy did not answer. Miss Rodriguez waited a few more seconds, then walked away. At exactly 10 o'clock, Tommy heard Principal Chen's voice boom through the gymnasium speakers.
Good morning, Lincoln High. Today is a very special day. Tommy sat on his overturned bucket in the closet, head in his hands, trying to breathe slowly like the therapist taught him. In through the nose for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, out through the mouth for 4 seconds. But his chest felt tight anyway. His vision was getting blurry at the edges. In the gym, 900 students sat on the bleachers. Most of them were on their phones, some were whispering. Cody and his friends were in the back row, already looking bored. Principal Chen stood at a podium on the gym floor with a microphone. Next to him were 3 veterans from the local VFW post, old men in their 70s and 80s wearing hats covered in military pins. We are honored today to welcome Senator David Morrison, who has served our great state with distinction. Senator Morrison is also a military veteran who served our country in Afghanistan. Please join me in welcoming him. Everyone clapped. The gym doors opened, and Senator Morrison walked in with 4 security guards. He was in his mid-40s now, with red hair starting to turn gray at the temples. He wore a dark blue suit and an American flag pin on his lapel. He smiled and waved as he walked to the podium, but his eyes were scanning the room, searching. He shook hands with Principal Chen and the other veterans, then stepped up to the microphone. Thank you, Principal Chen. Thank you to the students and staff of Lincoln High, Senator Morrison began. His voice was strong and clear. Veterans Day is a day we set aside to honor the men and women who wore the uniform, who put their lives on the line so we could be safe, so we could be free. Some students clapped. Most just stared at their phones. Senator Morrison paused and looked around the gym again. His smile faded a little. Today, I want to tell you about a man, a real American hero, and he's right here in this school. That got people's attention. Phones came down, students sat up straighter. In 2011, I was a young lieutenant in the United States Army, 24 years old, fresh out of West Point, thought I knew everything. Senator Morrison said with a small laugh. I was leading a platoon in Kandahar Province, Afghanistan, 23 soldiers under my command. The gym was completely silent now. Even Cody was listening. On August 16th, we were on patrol in a village. Intel said it was safe. It wasn't. The senator's voice got quieter. We got ambushed. RPGs. Machine gun fire from 3 directions. 2 of my men went down in the first 30 seconds. I got hit in the shoulder and couldn't move. I was lying in the dirt, bleeding, watching my guys get torn apart. A few girls in the front row had their hands over their mouths. Teachers stood along the walls completely still. I thought I was going to die that day. I was sure of it. But then I heard someone yelling, cursing actually, telling everyone to get down, to find cover. It was my staff sergeant. He was moving through enemy fire like it was nothing, dragging wounded soldiers to safety, one by one. Senator Morrison's eyes were wet now. He cleared his throat.
He pulled 7 men to cover. Then he came for me. I'll never forget looking up and seeing his face, blood running down his leg from a bullet wound, and he looked at me and said, "Sir, we're leaving. Right now." He picked me up, threw me over his shoulder, and carried me 200 yards to the extraction point while bullets were hitting the ground all around us. The senator stopped and wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. The gym was so quiet You could hear the heating system humming. That staff sergeant saved 23 lives that day, including mine. He got shot twice, kept going anyway. He received a Silver Star for valor, and then he went home and never talked about it again. Principal Chen was leaning forward, completely focused. The old veterans were nodding, some of them crying. That man's name is Thomas Walsh, and I was told he works here, at this school, Senator Morrison said, his voice breaking a little. The entire gym erupted. Students were looking around at each other. Teachers' mouths were hanging open. "Where is Tommy Walsh?" Senator Morrison said loudly into the microphone. No one answered. Students were standing up now, craning their necks to look around. "Does anyone know where he is?" the senator asked again. Ms. Rodriguez stepped forward from the side of the gym. "He's here. He's in the building." "Can someone please find him?" Senator Morrison said. Principal Chen grabbed his walkie-talkie. "All staff, locate Tommy Walsh immediately. Bring him to the gymnasium." Cody stood up in the bleachers, his face completely white. His hands were shaking. "Oh my God! Oh my God, what did we do?" Down in the basement, Tommy heard his name on the intercom. His whole body went cold. He stood up fast and looked around the closet like a trapped animal. There was nowhere to go. Footsteps on the stairs. Fast. Running. "Tommy! Tommy, you need to come upstairs right now!" It was Ms. Rodriguez's voice. "No," Tommy said through the door. "Tommy, please. The senator is asking for you. Everyone's waiting." "I can't." "Yes, you can. Please." The door opened. Ms. Rodriguez was standing there with tears running down her face. "Tommy, you're a hero. You need to let people know." Tommy shook his head. His eyes were wild, scared. I'm not a hero. You don't understand." "Then help me understand. Come upstairs." "People died," Tommy whispered. "I couldn't save them all. 3 men died that day." Ms. Rodriguez stepped into the closet and put her hand on his arm. "But you saved 23. 23 men went home to their families because of you." Tommy's face crumpled. 14 years of holding it in, 14 years of nightmares and guilt and shame. It all came pouring out at once. He sobbed like a child, his whole body shaking. "I should have been faster. I should have saved them all." Tommy sobbed. Ms. Rodriguez hugged him, this broken man who mopped floors and fixed lockers and never asked for anything. "You did everything you could," she said softly. "Now come on. Someone wants to thank you." They walked up the stairs together, slowly. Tommy's legs felt like concrete. When they reached the gym doors, he stopped. "I can't do this." "Yes, you can," Ms. Rodriguez said, and opened the doors. 900 students turned to look at him. Tommy Walsh, the janitor they had laughed at, the man they had mocked and ignored and filmed for TikTok. Senator Morrison saw him, and his face broke into the biggest smile. He stepped down from the podium and started walking toward Tommy. Then he started running. "Tommy!" Senator Morrison shouted. Tommy just stood there frozen as Senator Morrison ran across the gym floor and wrapped him in a hug so tight it looked like he would never let go. "You saved my life," Senator Morrison said loud enough for everyone to hear. "You saved all of us." Tommy's legs gave out. He fell to his knees right there on the gym floor, crying so hard he could not breathe. Senator Morrison kneeled down with him, holding him up. The entire gymnasium erupted in applause. Students were standing, clapping, crying. Teachers were wiping their eyes. The old veterans were saluting. Cody was sobbing in the bleachers, his phone in his hand. He opened TikTok and deleted every video he had ever posted of Tommy. His friends were doing the same thing. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," Cody kept saying to no one. Senator Morrison helped Tommy stand up. He looked out at all the students and said, "This is what a real hero looks like. Remember this face. Remember this man." Tommy looked up at the crowd, at all those young faces staring at him with respect and wonder and shame. He saw Cody crying. He saw the girls from the cafeteria with tears streaming down their faces. "I was just doing my job," Tommy said quietly into the microphone the senator handed him. "No," Senator Morrison said firmly. "You went above and beyond. You are the reason I get to be a husband, a father, a senator. You are the reason 23 families still have their sons and brothers and fathers." The applause got even louder. It went on for 5 minutes straight. Tommy stood there overwhelmed, tears running down his weathered face. After the ceremony, students lined up to shake Tommy's hand, to apologize, to thank him. Cody was one of the first in line. "Mr. Walsh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for everything I said, for the videos, for being such an idiot," Cody said, his voice shaking. Tommy looked at this kid, this boy who had tormented him, and saw himself at that age. Young, stupid, thinking he knew everything. "It's okay," Tommy said. "No, it's not. I was horrible to you." Tommy put his hand on Cody's shoulder. "You didn't know. Now you do. That's what matters." 3 months later, Lincoln High unveiled a memorial wall in the main hallway. On it were the names of every student and staff member who had served in the military. Tommy Walsh's name was at the top, along with his rank and his medals. But the real change was not on the wall. It was in how students looked at Tommy now when he pushed his mop bucket down the hall. They smiled at him, said good morning, asked him questions about his life, treated him like he was somebody. Because he was somebody. He always had been. Tommy still worked as a janitor, still wore the same gray uniform, still ate lunch alone in the closet sometimes because that was where he felt safe. But now, when his hands started shaking and the memories came back, he would walk past that memorial wall and remember that he saved 23 lives, that he made a difference, that he was not defined by the 3 he could not save, but by the many he brought home. And on the hardest days, when the weight felt too heavy, he would look at the photograph on his wall at home and whisper the same words Senator Morrison told him that day in the gym. "You did everything you could." And slowly, after 14 years of carrying it alone, Tommy Walsh started to believe it might be true.
Tommy's story reminds us that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear janitor uniforms. If this story moved you, please subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss another powerful true story. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that every person has a story worth hearing. Drop a comment below telling us about a hero in your life. Thank you for watching, and remember, treat everyone with kindness. You never know who you're standing next to.